Mantate, would you like to go for your 5 minutes now and unpack the topic, the Zimbabwean crisis, women as solution holders, what needs to be done?
Thank you so much, Grace. Thank you, Namatai, as well, for just opening for us. I wanted to just focus on 3 key areas that I feel are of concern to me, especially as a young woman. Because I feel like sometimes when you talk about the crisis having affected women, we tend to forget that there's that demographic of young women that really needs to be discussed. So the first thing that I wanted to have a conversation about is the issue of the lockdown itself, the fact that a lot of young women were forced to stay at home, some of them staying at home with people that have been for a long time perpetrators of abuse. So you discover that a lot of them were not safe at home. And just recently, I think 3 days back, we had a headline in one of our newspapers that was the way it was written, it was something like shockers 4 grade 7 schoolgirls fall pregnant during lockdown. And the conversation that has been there on Twitter and other social media platforms has been a question of when did we shift from calling it rape to a situation where we just assume or state something that talks of us being shocked that girls were pregnant, but we move away from the idea that this is actually reflective of abuse and sexual violation, because these are grade 7 kids, these are underage kids, so they did not consent to this. So I think that's the biggest problem I've had as well, issues of safety for our girls, but also within that framework of staying at home as well. If you're looking at some of those cases of abuse, you discover that if a child is abused by a father or a brother, because now they're spending more time with the family would rather protect they call it the dignity of the father, but I don't understand why we speak of the dignity of a man when he's abused and indignified a woman. So that's one of the problems that I feel we really have as a crisis in the country. But also I'm looking at a situation where if you look at places like Bulawayo, where there's a huge water crisis, and I've been seeing a lot of tweets and videos around the fact that people are going as early as 4 a.m. or even earlier just to hold queues so that they get water in boreholes, or at least prepare for when the council water comes for delivery and stuff like that. So you discover that it becomes very unsafe for young women, because if I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. and have to queue for water, it means that at the level of security, I am not safe as a young woman. So there's a higher risk of sexual abuse of young women due to this water crisis. But also looking at this water crisis, the other thing that we have as a challenge in Zim is the issue of access to sanitary wear for girls. I think this has been really accelerated around this COVID-19 period, because I remember when the national budget was approved, we were told that there was a budget allocation for young girls in schools to actually get sanitary wear. But because schools have been closed and no one has been holding the government accountable to say who actually got the sanitary pads, because the kids are they're actually at home and not at school. So that's another question that needs to be answered. But beyond that as well, there is the issue of the transport crisis in Zimbabwe right now, where you're realizing that a lot of the people are having to queue for Zuko buses, and you discover that some of those queues actually stretch to the evening, and you find that some of those girls have to take even longer to get home. And it comes back to the issue of the security after dark, because I think we've seen reports of how crime has generally increased, there's more robberies around this time, so you discover that our girls are not safe. But more than just the problems that we're looking at, I think the question that we're really trying to answer today is what must be done. And my first point of call really is with the law enforcement itself, because if you look at the crisis I mentioned earlier about grade 7 girls that have fallen pregnant, one of the things that was noted is that the police is not actually, they don't seem proactive around the issue. And when you discover, the report is talking about a conversation with the district education officer, one of the things it mentions is that we will wait for schools to open and then we'll see who is absent and then take up the issue. And that worries me a lot, because while you're waiting for schools to open and you can look at the number of girls that are not showing up at school, so that you can determine or decide that, okay, these are potentially the girls that have been abused or the girls that have fallen pregnant. I think during that time while you're waiting, there's a girl that needs support, there's a girl that needs to report this, because as I said earlier, it's sexual abuse. So we really need the law itself and the Ministry of Education to be more active. But also beyond that, there's the issue of reporting in Zimbabwe, where a lot of our girls are struggling to report abuse because the police doesn't take them seriously, or in some instances you find that someone goes to the police to report abuse and these police officers will actually ask these kids or these young girls to sleep with them in order to accelerate these cases. So that's another big problem. And also coming back to the media as well, to say the way that we report issues, especially issues of abuse of young women, also has a lot with the way that people receive it. Because if you look at a situation where someone reports shock as 4 grade 7 girls fall pregnant during lockdown, instead of actually saying rape of young girls or primary school girls, we discover that focus moves away from perpetrators of sexual abuse into actually blaming the victims for apparently falling pregnant. And there's that issue as well for civil society and everyone else to actually hold government accountable. For instance, in issues of access to sanitary, where I mentioned that there was a budget allocation for sanitary pads, but to this day, we're not told who actually got this, because the promise had been that it's going to schoolgirls, but no one has been at school since March. So the question really is, where did this money go? And then also the last thing that I think must be done is the increase in the number of safe houses. I mentioned earlier that some of these girls are forced to stay at home with perpetrators of violence or sexual abuse. So discover that there is no place for them to run to. Civil society organization can be overwhelmed as well. So there is need for the state to make provision for the safe houses where young girls can actually go there if they're abused. So I think that's basically my state of the nation right now and some of the ideas for how we can play around addressing this issue.